Okay, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is episode 52 of Blown Speakers. I'm Dave Hoenigman coming at you from Yokohama, Japan. And joining us again is the legendary Frank Z. Revy coming in from Cleveland. 52, Frank, you wanted to be episode 52. Why 52?
It's a special, sacred, cosmic number of incredible significance.
Fair enough. I thought maybe you'd put your sleeper cells in motion or something. Are you signaling to people or something with the number 52?
Yep, this is a signal. I don't know. Go Team Granada, attack. I don't know.
So how was your Thanksgiving?
Excellent. It was filling. It was joyful. I spent it with a wonderful friend and her family, and she's an incredible chef. And yeah, it was a wonderful feast. I ate her leftovers for 5 days straight, and I would eat it for 5 days straight more. It was that good with food.
Sounds good. Can't beat Thanksgiving leftovers.
Not especially when they're that delicious. She's Lebanese, and so that Arabic twist to the foods.
So
and it was amazing.
A few additional spices, I guess.
Yeah, and her style of cooking is just remarkable. The cranberry sauce she made, I can go off on for days, and she went off on it for days too. Like just she couldn't stop talking about how much of an incredible job she did on it. But I could not disagree with her. I was trying to, but I just kept on agreeing with her more and more as she was bragging about it.
Well, Mr. Revy, just a moment. Okay, so you chose today's album, the Jesus and Mary Chain, Psychocandy, 1985. So why Psychocandy?
The Jesus and Mary Chain is probably top 10 of my all-time favorite bands. And well, 1985, I was 15, so quite impressionable. MTV was, huge, as you know, and they actually played videos. And this video came on for this song called You Trip Me Up. And I started watching the video and listening to the music. And I was like, this isn't Michael Jackson. And I fell in love with it right away. The feedback, the guitar driven, the mellow, but, blowing out speakers, it was just, yeah, it was different, and it immediately caught my attention when I was 15.
Was MTV playing it as, because I think 1985 would be before 120 minutes, maybe.
Yeah, and that's why it was so strange when I saw it. That's why it caught my attention immediately. Because MTV wouldn't do that. It was just like a radio station. They'd have a rotation, right?
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. And obviously, what that one Dire Straits song, remember that one? I mean, that, I forgot what that was.
Money.
Saw that. What's that?
Money for Nothing, that song.
Right, that one.
Yeah.
It was a cool video when it first came out, and then they were playing it like 3 times an hour, right? And so they Michael Jackson, and who are superstars then? You know what I mean? Like those were on heavy rotation, but then they would plop in like weird shit every now and then, and then that's part of the reason why I paid attention. Like I was like, okay, I gotta look for the stuff that's not on Casey Kasem, or whatever. So.
Yeah, now that you mention, I remember about that time, just randomly in the middle of the day, seeing a video for the Minutemen, This Ain't No Picnic, like just squeezed in between like Cyndi Lauper and ZZ Top or something. So
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like you could just get lucky and just see like a mind-blowing video and then probably never see it again, right? But
right.
wow. Why did they have to stop doing that?
Well, I wish it would have been the other way. Instead of like, pounding the hell out of ZZ Top and Cyndi Lauper and, Dire Straits and Michael Jackson, it's like, yeah, play all the other stuff that was coming through, it's like, but it did eventually develop into what it is today. Like now everything's alternative, or everything's hip hop, or everything, it's whatever. Now you could stream whatever, you could search it out.
So when you saw that video, then were you able to find this album pretty easily, the cassette or whatever?
Well, yeah, I bought it as a cassette, if I do remember correctly. I think I owned it as a cassette. Most of my albums at that point, though my very first album was The Police, Synchronicity, I bought that as an LP, and I couldn't play it all the time because it was my parents' turntable, so I had to like ask permission.
Yeah.
Fucking record.
Yeah, that's why cassettes were so big, and they were just so much easier to play for kids, right?
Right.
Yeah, I didn't have good luck with vinyls. I would scratch the shit out of them, and
Right. Yeah, cassettes, you plop them in, whatever, man. Yeah, I prefer the cassette. I think I did have the cassette. Actually, you know what? I didn't buy it, but here's the story about it. Is that about 2 years later, I was working at Hex Cafe in Rocky River, and then I was a dishwasher there, so I was 17, and this dude just got hired, and he looked like one of the Jesus and Mary Chains dudes. He had long hair, wore a leather jacket, was shoegazy type, and he was like probably like 23 or 25 at the time, And then the first question I asked him was, "Do you like the Jesus and Mary chain?" And he said, "Yes." And guess what? He was Scottish.
Wow.
So it was just so fucking, and I remember just being in the basement of Hex Cafe. You know where Hex Cafe was? In Rocky River, Beechcliff Mall, Phil the Thrill.
I don't know your West Side BS, man.
Well, Phil the Thrill, if he's listening, he knows exactly where. It's the Beechcliff Mall. So it was like a posh burger place, whatever. I mean, you know what Hex is, right? You remember it from back in the day in Cleveland.
Rings a bell.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're in a basement, and he's like sitting there smoking a cigarette, and then I kept him asking about music because he obviously was older and from Scotland, and but he was not, he wouldn't divulge much information to me. He probably looked at me as some 17-year-old punk kid that from Cleveland, he's just flying through town, he's not going to be here long, and he wasn't. He literally worked there I think less than 2 weeks, and he was gone. I don't even remember his name or anything, but I remember that crisscross. Do you like the Jesus and Mary chain? Yes.
I wonder if he was offended that you were able to suss him out so quickly.
Totally, man. And then I was just this eager, because as you know, it's totally different. We didn't have internet, we didn't have phones. Yeah. So whenever somebody came by with new music or somebody different came by, you immediately were like,
"Yeah,
dude, what do you listen to?"
Yeah.
Tell me, because I gotta find out. Yeah.
So it was oral tradition. It was literally oral tradition, learning about bands and stuff. So
right. And then you saw what would come to the Fantasy Theater. That's where I saw them in 85 or 87, whatever year it was. And when they came through there, so then you realize that the Fantasy Theater has cool bands. So then you start looking at their schedule. And then that's when I started listening to CSB, WCSB, and College Radio and RUW.
Mm-hmm.
I think we talked about this last time too. And then, then you literally would have to listen to the radio, and then a DJ that you like that might be on at 3 a.m. Thursdays, so you'd have to wake up, listen to the radio, and then write down, if you would go through the set list, just write down this, whatever, Minutemen. Okay, got to remember that tune because that was awesome, But I almost never bought albums though, because I didn't have money,
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't buy any albums. I was paying my tuition at St. Ed's.
Hmm. Hard luck.
Good luck.
So, all right, just to orient people a bit, Jesus and Mary Chain formed in East Kilbride, Scotland in 1983. And they put out a single that was a hit in the UK, Upside Down, in 1984, right? But this was their debut album, Psychocandy, 1985.
I think that's the video I actually saw was Upside Down, to tell you the truth. Anyway, keep going.
Okay, see, that makes sense to me, Frank, because the other track that you mentioned, I was surprised that they made a video for that, because it wasn't a single. So you think it was Upside Down you saw?
Yeah, it was Upside Down. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, and this album, right, has been since been considered a classic. Let's see, the members of the band, we got the Reed brothers, Jim Reed on vocals and guitar, William Reed on vocals and guitar. Jim was usually the lead vocals, except for It's So Hard, the last track, right? The last track on the album, William sang lead. Douglas Hart on bass, and Bobby Gillespie from Primal Scream on drums. Yeah, so I had totally forgotten that Gillespie was the drummer of Jesus Mary Chain in the early.
I didn't even know. I mean, I honestly didn't know.
Yeah. So he started, or he was in Primal Scream since '82, but he was kind of on leave from Primal Scream. This was almost like a side project for him, I guess. But he played on this. But then I think this is the last album he plays on. Then, he continues with Primal Scream. Their debut album was '87. So, yeah, it's an interesting twist. Yeah, and if you look at the picture, like, that's clearly him. I mean, his hair is a different length, but that's definitely Bobby Gillespie.
Yeah, I didn't realize, and that's huge. Actually, that's a major scene right there. Like, looking at it right now, it's like, that is history. That's like rock history right there.
This is from '85, right? We got Douglas Hart,
Yeah,
William Reed, Jim Reed, Bobby Gillespie. So this photo was taken in Detroit in late 1985. So
that was probably right about when they came through to Cleveland, right?
I
think it was like '87.
Yeah, I mean, so all they have for Cleveland on the set list is set list FM. They mentioned '87, which we're thinking this might have been when you saw them, right? It says venue unknown.
I honestly, now I think if they were on tour in '85, I'm telling you, they came through in '85 too.
Okay.
You know what? My memory's bad. I think it is probably '87.
I do agree with you, though. If they were in Detroit, they probably would have hit Cleveland. But yeah.
I'm trying to remember which year I saw them, though. I think it was '87. So
okay.
I've seen them.
Okay. And you're saying you might have seen them twice. So you're saying you might have seen '87 and '90.
I think I saw them twice. And then, when we were talking earlier about the '90s show, then I thought, but see, I don't remember coming back from college to see him. So I think I saw him in '85 and '87. And I think that's what happened.
Okay. Could be.
And I just, because I do remember two distinct times. Both of them were at the Fantasy Theater in Lakewood.
Really? Okay. Well, any case, so you were able to see them shortly after you became interested in them. So you would have been very young. They would have been just starting out. So what do you remember about those shows?
They suck live.
Really?
Yeah, it's horrible.
Oh, so how?
But see, this is the thing, is like, so yeah, because I'm all pumped up, right? It's holy shit, the Jesus and Mary Chain is coming to Cleveland. What the heck? And it's like, hell yeah, I'm going. I went with my buddy Chuck, Chuck Winiger, and we walked because it's about 3 miles from our house, and he lived at the end of my street. So I walked down there. I kind of had to sneak out. I think I had to lie to my mom of what I was doing or whatever. Like, hanging out with Chucks, I'll be home in a couple hours or whatever. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't tell I was going to a concert, basically. And then we walked there. There's a line. It was different. You know, I could smoke. There's smoking inside. That's why I remember it was totally smoky. I saw other people there I knew. I saw a girl there. See, I'm mixing up the two shows, I'm telling you. I saw a girl that I had a crush on. I think that was the second show I saw. And there's an earlier one. But anyway, so for this show, but I remember them just, you know, everybody, I don't know how to describe it, because I was 17 and full of energy, and you know, I was into punk rock and metal too, you know what I mean? So I wanted to like get energized and dance and all that stuff or whatever, you know, mosh pit, whatever, you know. And they come out and they're like totally like staring at the ground, not interacting with each other, with the audience. Either they're super shy on heroin, or, you know, I don't know what's going on. And I you know, and then they start playing and they look like they're totally bored playing, but it's the songs and it's full on feedback, you know, and it's awesome. The music is awesome, you know, but it doesn't look like they're into it at all, you know. So, but that's what I basically remember from it. And it was packed, you know, there's like, the theater, I think, holds like 1,200 or 900 people or 1,000 people or something like that. But so, yeah, I mean, it was cool. I mean, looking back on it, you know, I didn't realize I was witnessing what I consider as rock history, you know, basically.
Yeah, I guess I shouldn't be surprised by that, because yeah, when I read about their shows in the UK and Europe or wherever, their early shows, I mean, they would often play with their backs turned to the audience, and they would play for like 20 minutes and stop, and people would get pissed off, and a lot of their shows would end in riots and violence. And yeah, sometimes they would go on, like they would make sure there was no opening band, and then they would go on super early and then leave, so that like most of the people showing up missed them, and then it would turn into a riot and stuff. So it sounded like, yeah, so what you're saying is consistent with that. I guess I kind of thought that they were just doing that as a kind of shtick in the UK, like just to get the headlines. But then by the time they would tour America, they would have been more crowd pleasers. But yeah, I guess it doesn't sound like it.
Well, I think it could be because, I mean, I think honestly they were shy, you know, either that or they were on drugs, you know, like,
or both.
I mean, is there a history of drugs? It seems like they would, you know, well, so, I mean, essentially they're the originators of shoegaze. I mean, that's what shoegaze is, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they're the originators of it, you know, aren't they? I mean, could they be considered that?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, certainly in the conversation for that. I feel like they took a bit from Joy Division and The Cure, right? But there's certainly a step towards yeah, Stone Roses and Ride and My Bloody Valentine, right? I mean, I certainly put them in that conversation, right?
Those are all bands that you just named that I did get into. So yeah, and so obviously they're influenced.
So you may have seen that one of the first, if not the first, shoegaze show in Cleveland, you think, before anyone started using the word shoegaze?
Yeah, so that's an interesting term. I mean, when did that term start getting used? Like the 90s, didn't it?
Yeah, I would say, yeah. Like post My Bloody Valentine, Loveless, when I don't know, journalists were scrambling to put a name on that. Perhaps I don't know the first usage of the word, but dream pop, people use the word dream pop for a while, right? And I feel like shoegaze kind of overtook that. But there's a shoegaze renaissance, or what do you call it? what's the word? Like a comeback, a renaissance.
Sure, Renaissance.
In Asia now, there's like some Japanese bands that are tapped into the shoegaze thing, and Korean bands and Chinese. Yeah, it's like a little research.
Are you familiar with the documentary? I think there's a documentary that's not not too old.
Oh, okay, about a Chinese documentary about Jesus and Mary Chain.
Was it the Chinese one?
Yeah, it's on their official website, I think.
Well,
yeah,
I thought it was Japan, that they came to Japan or something.
Okay, could be.
But I think there is a documentary, and actually, it's really good because I can't remember, because then they interviewed like a record shop owner, and it could have been, the typical record shop order. It was just so weird because I'm like, it's Cleveland too. You know what I mean? It's like the scene is so yeah. Anyway, sorry. I'm okay.
All right, we'll play a short bit of this Chinese documentary. Revival was the word I was looking for, not Renaissance. There was a revival going on in Asia at the moment. But here, let's check this out.
钉鞋鼻祖之一。太酷了，找到椰子项链就还是太酷了，就是你很难用一个语言去描述它，就是你只能想，就是太酷了，就是我也只能这么说。第一次听并没有给我很大的震撼，就是我可能会有点慢热那种。就有的乐队是属于听第一耳朵你会觉得哇太棒了这些乐队，但有的乐队就是你需要更长的时间去接受它，但是你会越来越喜欢。我觉得耶稣项链应该是后者。
这张特别像，我觉得还挺像耶稣玛利亚锁链，但是我不太确定啊。我觉得还蛮像，反正就是按照那个路子做。想做一张像 Psychocandy 那样的东西。对，我们的还算是白噪音，实际上，他们还算是比较叫 dark noise， 像我们还是 white noise， 所以用的对，但是我所说的就是学习他们就是想做一张类似他们一样的东西，其实就是平衡嘛，就是流行乐和噪音实验的那种之间做到好的平衡。
Yeah, that's it looks like they played there in 2019. So yeah, maybe that's part of the revival, or maybe anyway, shoegaze is popular among young people in Asia at the moment. Unless that fad,
that's great.
Unless that fad is already passed. No, but my students tell me, yeah, they're into the kids who are into music. Yeah, they're into shoegaze. Some of that, like My Bloody Valentine, man, everybody still loves My Bloody Valentine. So,
that's another great band
from Ireland. So let's see. Should we? Well, just to get people, okay, this album, right, Psychocandy, you can see very highly regarded. Look at all these 5-star reviews, right? 9.6 out of 10 from, the people at Pitchfork. Yeah, so it seems basically beyond debate that this is a, classic, beloved, highly influential album. And yeah, so it seems that you got into some cool stuff at a young age. But just to give our viewers a taste, Frank, is there a track you think we should spin?
Well, why don't we spin You Trip Me Up, the one which I mistakenly thought I saw the video for, but I love that song.
Okay, just a moment. Okay, so this is a track hand selected by Frankie Z, You Trip Me Up. Let's check it out. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
It takes me back.
So it's interesting that you said they were so bad live, but yet you immediately wanted to see them again.
Well, you know, the whole point of the Jesus Mary Chain is you don't want to go, you don't go see the Jesus Mary Chain, you go hear the Jesus Mary Chain live.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the irony, is because this is full blown, full force feedback, noise, overpowering, right? And then you would think if it's like that, that the presentation would be overpowering, right? Oh, like lights and action and these guys, like, you know, sometimes you get this idea. I mean, obviously, when you watch a video, you see that it's like, you know, just dudes who are using electricity as service to their music, you know, and they're doing it right, and it sounds amazing. And that's why that's why you go hear them live, you know, because hearing it live is cool. Even when they do use, you know, a drum machine. I think one of the times I saw them, they did use a drum machine, and that was kind of disappointing.
I hear Yola Tango in there too. I think Yola Tango was definitely influenced by this too.
Oh yeah.
I expected to go into Little Honda. It sounds like it could just like slide right into Little Honda at some point.
Well, yeah, Yola Tango for sure is, yeah. That's another great band. I love Yola Tango.
All right, just to give people an idea of their output, right? So this was their debut, 85, and you see the people at All Music indicate that it's they recommend it as a good place to start, right? Got the most attention on this website. Yeah, I mean it's considered if you want to get into Jesus and Mary Chain, it's a good starting point. And right, so they put out albums every 2 or 3 years up to the mid 90s, and then they had one late 90s album, and then they kind of disappeared for a while, right? Were you equally into their other 80s or early 90s stuff, or was it definitely Psychocandy for you?
Oh, well, yeah, Psychocandy is probably my favorite, but yeah, all their other albums are awesome. I mean, Darklands, Is that the one with 9 Million Rainy Days on it? That song. I mean, I think that might be my favorite all-time song by them, and I think it's off that album.
Okay.
And yeah, all their other albums. Automatic. I remember playing that came out when I was a DJ in college, and I remember playing that album all the time, you know, on my show. And what were the other ones?
Honey's Dead.
Yeah, I don't remember that album. Stoned and Dethroned. Wonderful name.
Yeah.
Perfect. Such a great name for an album, man.
So what was the concept of your radio show?
Shit. Free for all, really. I mean, I would play everything and anything, and just what I loved, and that's what I would play. So that would mean that I would play in my 2-hour slot everything from, you know, Franz Liszt to Jesus and the Mary Chain to Slayer to something that I never heard, and I'll throw it on random. And sometimes we'll just take it off halfway through the song because it was so horrible, or in other times just be completely and pleasantly surprised that, you know, I was able to open my ears to something new. I love that show. That was a good time.
So how long did you do that?
I think you know, about 1.5 years before I got kicked off.
Why did you get kicked off?
I got kicked off because
You do that. Wait. Sorry. Yeah. Why did you get kicked off?
because Ministry, they had a album called Live from the Gulag, and then they do a version of Stigmata with a lot of F words. Like they say Frankie a lot.
So it was Al Jorgensen's fault.
I'm like, you know, just really, you got to hear the song. It's an amazing, you know. Al Jorgensen goes off, you know, and it's a 12-minute live track and just phenomenal, you know. Ministry at its peak, you know. But of course, once you listen to the song, you'll understand why. Like halfway through the song, the radio station manager like called me up and was like, Frank, what are you playing? I'm like, Ministry's Life from Gulag, Stigmata. He's like, you know what they're saying, you know? And I'm like, oh yeah. Oh, I forgot about that. So he's like, this is your last show. I'm like, okay, yeah, I understand.
Wow. You're immediately fired.
Yeah. I should have known since I was a communications major in college, you know, what the FTC or FDA or whatever the fuck it is, FCC is.
Oh, so that's funny too. That's so that would have been Mercyhurst, right? Erie, Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah.
So you remember that movie? What's that movie with Tom Hanks? The Things You Do. Doesn't that take place in Erie, Pennsylvania? When
they filmed
everyone like dancing to the radio.
Yeah. They filmed that Mercyhurst too.
Okay. So but in your version of that Tom Hanks scenario, instead of bopping to that Thing You Do, they're listening to Ministry.
Right.
And the DJ gets fired and the movie's over.
Yes, that's exactly how the script would be written.
Well, that's a way to go out though in a blaze of glory, right? You should have organized a protest.
No, I was sick of it by that time. I was like, I'm sick and tired of coming here every week for 2 hours. It was awesome though. I loved it.
Yeah, that does sound fun. So we had mentioned thinking of Jesus and Mary Chain as the antithesis of Kiss, or the anti-Kiss, right? So can you elaborate on that concept?
Well, because you know, like, because you don't go see them, you go hear them, and so there's no, you know, I mean, they had a look, obviously, you know, their hair, they dressed in black or whatever, they wore leather, but they had a look. But at the same time, you know, they didn't have to put on a show, because you didn't go see them, you went to go hear them, you know. and maybe look at them. But yeah, so it was about the music, and the music was amazing. And that feedback to make beautiful noise, beautiful music out of that feedback, that took courage and creativity and talent the way they did it. I don't think too many bands can recreate it that specifically either, But it clearly influenced. I mean, it was massively influential. And that's why, so it is the Kiss antithesis. It wasn't about showmanship. It was about creativity and art and musicianship, the sound.
But yeah, minimalism in a way too, right? I mean, just like 2 drums. I mean, from what I understand. And sort of repurposing bits of old rock songs, right? Like you could hear, right? You could hear in the intro to, right? Just like Honey. What is it? I had written it down. Yeah, the Ronettes' Be My Baby. You could hear a bit of that in the intro to that. So, like a cool mix of influences and whatnot, right? Like they were into everything from Phil Spector, right? The Beach Boys, along to the Velvet Underground, the Stooges, right? So just a cool mixture of stuff. Yeah,
and it shows in the sound, and then they, drenched it in feedback, it was awesome. It really worked really well. It was beautiful. And it still caught you, and it was the music that caught you. It wasn't the act. So the name was provocative too, but it was an unusual name for a pop act or rock act or whatever, right?
Yeah, I didn't know what to make of the name when I heard it back in the day. Like, what do you make of that name, the Jesus and Mary chain?
Yeah, it's provocative, right? But it wasn't blasphemous, but it was provocative,
Yeah.
It walked that edge, and then so drugs. I think they did do a lot of drugs, so I think they had that part of the equation of rock and roll down too. Not that it's important, but so that that could have influenced it, but
record. So this is some footage of them in Camden in '85, but the whole end of this video, is just like fans throwing stuff at the stage. So it's and like what I said, they would play extremely short sets and kind of piss off the people who had paid to see a concert, right? And like just this now, him screaming like this sounds
dude,
more abrasive vocally. Yeah, they're destroying stuff.
Dude, this is what I was expecting. This is what I wanted to see when I saw the movie. Just the opposite. Because that's what the music. This is what the music is about. That's what to me. That's what it inspired. And when you're 15, you're hearing this. You're like, fuck yeah! This is awesome.
Let's see if I can get to the point where, yeah. So you can't see it so clearly, but the whole end of this video is just fans throwing. The whole end of the video is fans throwing stuff at the stage.
You bastard! Stop it. Now that's a rock and roll. That's how every single true rock and roll thing should end with a riot.
Yeah. And I guess, yeah, there would routinely be riots after their performances. So, so there you go.
see, and that's why I thought that they suck, because it's like I don't know. I would have rather at that point in my life, being a 17-year-old youngster, full of energy, young, dumb, full of cum, as they say. I wanted to rock out, and we got the opposite. So,
they didn't destroy anything.
Being older, I think I appreciate that opposite. We'll get drenched in feedback, and it's like this blessing of noise.
And yeah, as we mentioned, of course, the Pixies were big fans, right? And even covered Head On. So yeah, highly influential. All right, let's spin another track. Okay, so to play another track, I thought we'd look at or listen to Taste the Floor. Shall we?
We shall.
I like the part when the fish get drowned. What do you think, Frank?
That song is awesome.
Hmm.
Why do you like that part, David?
I don't know. That's how I when you and I used to hang out, that's how I think of us as fish who were drowning. Right? A club illusion.
That's exactly what we were tasting the floor, man.
Yeah. Right. So, yeah. What do you think?
You know, it was the 90s, man. Shit. Yeah, but that's why that song is so good, right? I mean, yeah, it's full on, man. Full on noise, and just that it's a good riffy, but yeah, I don't know.
It's also a precursor to the whole slacker attitude, right? The kind of like you could see in the vocals, you could also hear, you know, Dinosaur Jr., Beck, Pavement, that kind of okay, I'm a singer in a band, but I'm too cool to really give a shit about that, you know, like type attitude. So it's really yeah. The more you listen to it, the more you can see how it really influenced a lot of what came after it.
It was huge. I mean, it stuck out. I mean, if it made MTV rotation, of course it's going to stick out, you know?
Mm-hmm. And I like, you know, bands who were influenced by the Velvet Underground. They just take kind of one aspect of the Velvets and turn it into like their whole sound. Like I think that's great that you could, and different bands did that in different ways, right? And I love the Velvets, right? So to see a band put a certain spin on it, and then that influenced like everything that came out the following decade. I mean,
yeah,
it just,
because the root always goes deeper, you know, and that's the deepest root there as far as this whole thing goes, I think.
Well, but that's another angle of what they were doing, though, is the Phil Spector stuff and the Ronettes and Shangri-Las. So they were mixing the Velvets with the poppy stuff that came before it. So yes, I mean, just great mixture of sonic experimentation and like just pop sensibilities, you know.
One of my favorite albums was Barbed Wire Kisses, but I think that was kind of a compilation too. But there's like surfy stuff on there. And one of my favorite songs, Sidewalking, was on that album too. But yeah.
Why Sidewalking?
Oh, it was Sidewalk In. I don't know. It was just because it had this. I mean, it's not on Psychocandy, so we probably shouldn't talk about it. But it was just a driving beat and totally laid back and echoey. I don't know. It was just a cool tune. I remember playing it a lot on my radio show. That song.
Did people call up and request songs on your radio show?
No. It was Erie, Pennsylvania, on a college station that I think got. I do remember a truck driver calling once. It's like, "Hey, I'm listening. Wow." No, that's not. I don't know. I don't know what happened.
All right, just a moment.
And then Just Like Me.
All right, we're looking at the track list again. Yeah. So what were you saying? You wanted to hear something called "Taste Like Cindy," "Taste of Cindy."
Yeah, Taste of Cindy. That's a good one. I think. Is that on this one? Yeah, Taste of Cindy.
Yep. And I guess the CD. So you had it on cassette, so maybe you didn't know this song. The CD release contained an extra track, "Some Candy Talking."
Yeah, I don't think I know that one.
So that would confirm that you had the cassette.
Yeah, and I think I had the CD too. But I don't remember. But no, yeah, I did have the cassette. I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay, so
But
you
I do
might.
seem to remember owning the cassette. Yes.
Okay. Well, I think it's fitting that your memory of a lot of this stuff is pretty blurry, right? I think the Reed brothers would support that. Or they would take it as a compliment, I think. Just a moment. All right, Frank, so you've decided on a track you want to go out on. And yeah, what were you saying?
YouTube sucks.
YouTube sucks, right?
Yeah.
Even though we've been watching YouTube clips and we're making a YouTube clip, Frank wants to go on record saying YouTube sucks. Probably the single most like entertaining entity in my life, you know, YouTube. You know,
speaking, it sucks. It sucks you in.
Okay, why Taste of Cindy?
I forgot why. I think once you start playing it, I'll remember.
Okay, cool. Well, it's been fun rehashing your life with your life as a Jesus and Mary Chain fan and what this album meant to you. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that has been episode 52 with our guest, Francis Zoltan Revy, right? And all right, Frank.
Thanks, David.
All right. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's rock.